and more family-like, like we work as a team, we get this done, we can do this. And like, I just really enjoyed the time spent with each other, how like everybody bond, and how they taught us many new things. They taught me how to start off playing the keyboard. They taught me that rapping isn't always about speaking so fast, it's always like what you're putting into it and how you're saying it. For cooking, I really enjoyed how Chef was like, cut it slowly, don't try and cut your hand off. I just really enjoyed being there. It was just like freedom away from home sometimes, or like a way to just express myself and get to know new people. I got to know new people from who like previously did it, and I just really enjoyed it, and I really like enjoyed their happiness. Like they let me express myself and how they just like kept me positive. The staff themselves, they just like said, walk in here with a positive attitude. If you're having a bad day, just take it off. We'll work with you about that. They also encourage us to write many songs, get our ideas out about the whole thing. If we like didn't like something about it, we tell them. It's not like it was a hidden thing or anything. It was always something that you just express yourself about, like just problems, issues, anything. And it wasn't anything about it that just made it like negative. We also help out in the garden, even if you weren't like a part of the agriculture part. It was always like a team effort. If you needed help, we go and help you. It's just not hard. And it was something we all enjoyed. That's it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Saul Perez, and I'm a student in DACA. And what I learned in DACA is like, everyone in there is very nice, and they teach me a lot. I learned a lot how to make a lot of beats in audio and how to control things in video, like the angle and how it's supposed to be. They make me feel like I'm in my home, and they treat me like family. And everyone there is very nice. I know I already said that, but you get to meet a lot of new friends and new people that you've never seen before. I never tried architect gardening, but it looks like fun, but I never tried it. And cooking is very fun. Chef shows us how to cook, how to cut and put spices in many foods. And in audio, they show you the type of music, like how to put the type of, like what music or how you feel music. Like music is very inspiring to me. I like music a lot. I make a lot of beats, and that's the most important thing in my life is music. And like I said, everyone's very nice there, and I enjoy going to DACA every day.
Hi, my name is Larry Ford. I've been going to DACA from May 2011. I'm a senior. So finding a program that sort of takes people in me, I don't know, I guess it was sort of hard for me to find. I'm a musician in training, so I mostly do instrumental music. DACA taught me digital music, which was something I didn't think I would ever get to learn. I've only been in instrumental music. I've only played with big bands and classical bands. I didn't know about Reason and Pro Tools and how Bruno Mars may have made a song or how Nicki Minaj may have stole this beat to put in her song. I got accepted into a college based on 3 songs I made. They're going to give me money for the songs I got to make at a program. I'm making even more songs, and all of these kids who talked, and some who aren't even here, they're my family now. We became friends. We call each other almost every day. We talk. They've helped me make songs. We've been making videos. We do things together. DACA became my second family. I'm at school from 8 to about 4, which means I'm at school, then I'm at home, then back at school, then I'm back at home. DACA was open after certain programs would have closed. And I got to go there and meet friends, make music, help learn how to make a video. I got to learn about different arugulas and learn that there's a such thing as a death pepper or something like that. I got to figure out how to cook. I made French toast. I've never been in the kitchen all my life. I just turned 18 this month. It's an amazing experience. I've brought friends in. My best friend is now in the program and he's about to make a song too. It's a really fun program. Lots of kids can learn anything and even get money for college. Why not have a program like that? Thanks.
Hello and good evening. My name is Jasmine Johnson. I am a sophomore at Skyline High School. I've been in DACA since the summer, and it's really been an extreme, just amazing experience for me. I made beats. I started to write songs. I've expressed myself through video and cooking and architecture and agriculture, and that's stuff I've never done before. And my school doesn't offer such things like that. My middle school hasn't, my high school doesn't. And I think it's a great experience to have for kids of my age, teenagers, even younger kids. It's something really good to have because you're able to express yourself through ways you normally wouldn't be able to. And with the things that we learn, things like things using Pro Tools and Reason and Final Cut Pro, things that pros are using in Hollywood today, we are able to use these things and create our ideas of what we have. And I am currently in a computer and video academy at Skyline, and I'm currently leading a group that is creating a movie, like a full-length movie. And I'm leading this group because of the things that I've learned at DACA. I'm starting to get in the kitchen more with my grandmother because of the cooking at DACA. It's a very homely place, and every time I go there, I feel like, hey, this is my family. I can be real with you guys, my family. And I think that's very important because I think teens today are thought of as like, oh, well, you're not ready for this yet, or you're not ready for the world yet. We are ready for the world, and if you give us the chance and give us these outlets, we can show you what we can do.
Oakland's greatest challenge, building a 21st century future for young people by investing in our youth, their education, job opportunities, and safety. We can create an environment of opportunity and support that will ensure that Oakland can flourish in years to come. That sounds like what Ms. Brooks has done. But this is some smoke and mirrors that the mayor has put out. And the mayor and the Madam City Administrator, where did Pat Carnahan go? And Libby Shad, this is a vicious attack. A vicious attack. It's unwarranted. You cut the Youth Advisory Commission staff position. You said you got missing files. Were those the same files that she talked about? How come you don't have them if they were emails? You toss all this stuff out there on an FBI investigation probe. Show me where the probe is. Based upon your comment, and certainly based upon Mr. Councilmember Brooks' account of the attack. What's going on? You talk all this stuff about our children. You're hypocrites. How much each, all you had monies for teen centers, Mr. President, excuse me. How much did each one of the council members get for their teen center? Nobody? Madam City Administrator? Somebody said they had some money for teen centers, so how much is it? Oh, now you can't answer? Well, whatever it is, you don't have a teen center, so give it to Miss Brooks. She knows how to use it. Huh?
Your time is up.
Oh, somebody's gonna use some time for me. Okay, good.
No, he only gets 1 minute. You got
1 minute? Okay.
All right.
I got
Can you tone it down so we can hear the speaker?
All right.
Thank you.
You can't hear me?
No, I was talking about my friend, and my friend is sitting down.
It's supposed to be the interest, what's in the best interest of the city. Are you in the best interest of our city and what we do for them? But at every junction, you want to cut it from underneath them. You need to continue to support this. This should not be a short-lived financial support of this facility. We've heard that Councilmember Brooks went through everything from management, from staff. She made inquiry. So why all of a sudden, go after Phil Agami? I'm going to come back to go after Phil Agami. Let's do an FBI probe on him. We subsidize all of his projects. Every one of them. And it's also mixed up in the financing. Go after him. Start with the Fox, Oakland, and go back. And let's start looking at this Oakland Army base. Okay? That's what. Oh.
Good evening. My name is Mary Maltsby Jeffrey, and I've lived in Oakland for 12 years, and I've not once voted for Ms. Brooks. I taught school at Castlemont for 10 years, and I felt that not enough was being done for the youth in our community, particularly the district that I lived in and worked, the next district over I worked in. Prior to moving here, I played an important role in changing the lethal atmosphere that existed in Indianapolis, Indiana. As the Director of Health and Human Services, Economic Development, Housing, and Employment for the Indianapolis Urban League, I was able to initiate and orchestrate programs that resulted in reducing crime within the highest crime area in Indianapolis. Today, that area is one of the safest areas in Indianapolis, and it was not due to gentrification. The most important project that I started in that community consisted of various youth programs. A place for youth to meet and have the majority of their needs addressed. A place where they can acquire life skills. A place where they can laugh without fearing for their lives is the most important impact, has the most important impact on crime reduction. Youth centers are critical to the survival of our youth. I have seen very little progress in my district over the years that even come close to addressing the needs of our youth. To date, there has been 24 murders in Oakland. At this pace, we will definitely hit 200. We're only into the new year by not even 2.5 months, and we're already at 24. Desperate times require desperate measures. For the first time since moving to Oakland and living in Desiree Brooks's district, I am proud of the work that she has done to get that center open. That is the beginning of changing the lives of our youth here in Oakland. And I have cried many a night. I'd like to say to Ms. Brooks, your foresight that has,
Ma'am, your time has expired.
I have two more sentences. Your foresight that led you to collaborate and partner with Pulte is extraordinary. It's the first time I've lived in Seattle, Orlando, Florida, and I've worked with nonprofits all along. This is the
Ma'am.
first time a city council member has had the guts to do
Ma'am.
something about changing the lives of our youth. So,
Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. We have a lot of speakers.
Working on your campaign.
Good evening, President Reed, council members. My name is Fred McKay, and I'm on the board of the African American Chamber, and I'm also on the board of the National Association of Minority Contractors. And I'd like to go on the record saying that we support Desley. We definitely support Desley in her efforts that brought much needed venue to our community that so desperately needs teen centers, community centers, and after-school programs. Places where our children can go other than the streets where they congregate. This teen center is a second home to most. Since it has already been established, we would like for you to consider keeping the current staffing in place, because these kids, you know, really have established a bond with these working people. This community is so with foster care. These kids see a lot of foster care. They see a lot of people coming and going in their lives. And during the course of this teen center, they have established a relationship with these people. And I would like to see the staffing stay in place. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
To the President of the Council, my Council Member Nadell, and to the rest of the council members. My name is Ronald Muhammad. My whole life I've done nothing but work with children and youth and the establishment of facilities. I was there when Youth Uprising opened. I've seen all of the things that had Councilmember Reed had to go through in this district to make that happen, and that was with city and county collaboration. My 8 Corner Recreation Center, I know everything that we had to go through. I see what our council member Nadell, she's going through. It's like 4th year. So to do something like that in 45 days, man, that's something to be applauded. I wanted to say that a former supervisor of mine, Dr. Slaughter, he used to always say that Lone Ranger is dead today without Tonto. So you have to collaborate in order to get things done. So I applaud your collaboration. And to that, City Administrator, I wanted to speak directly to you. I don't know you. I don't really know your work because you haven't been here that long. But I would say on behalf, I know that they will correct me if I'm wrong, on behalf of the rest of us from Oakland, we would hope that there would not be any type of vindictive situation to the staffers that helped her. We would hope that they would be able to continue to do their work, because we should applaud them for assisting her to get something done like that in 45 days. That is huge. So the staffers, whether it be through the housing, through senior or whatever, whoever assisted her should be applauded, because you need collaborations in order to get things done today. And I just want to say again, we applaud you for doing what you did. And maybe you can be a best practice model on how you get things done.
Hi, my name is John Hopkins. I'd like to support Desmond Brooke. She supported me after I was out of job for 9 years, disabled, partial time, and she helped me get a job with a plumbing company. And I think it's a good thing for her with her work and effort working with the kids. I worked for Coupon for 9 years prior to that, and I had a lot of experience seeing the needs of kids. And that is an important thing today, is looking at the future of kids. So to have problems, to not to want to help kids, I don't see it. If we're going to look at the future of kids, we should put our personal problems aside and try to work with each other to make Oakland better. If we're going to look at our genders, we need to kind of like just put all the animosity aside and just continue working on and doing a great job. I appreciate the help she done for me. Thank you.
Hello, City Council. For the record, my name is Ken Houston. I'm going to speak as a contractor first, then I'm going to speak as a resident. And I want to ask the audience, go visit the site.
If you guys visit the site, you'll see how beautiful it really is. And everybody on TV, go visit the site, you'll see how beautiful this site is. As a contractor, I could not do it for my mother for $150,000. Contractor. I could do it for myself. Knowing the scope of that, if you walk it with the sidewalk, the facades, the bathrooms, the ADA, that's a $400,000 project. Tell me that's not in the best interest of the city. Tell me that's not in the best interest of the children of my community. Leland, Lynn grew up in that area. That's the disparity in that area is huge. When I say huge, have any of you ever visited that area at night? I'm asking. Okay. It's not good. Where do they have to go? To the teen center. This total package, like I said, is the best interest of the community and the city. The residents and voters of Oakland are not stupid. And you city council members aren't stupid either. Each and every one of you, and they know what this is all about. Everybody knows what this is all about. I'm going to say this, whoever moves this forward in a negative way, and behind this in a negative form, should totally be disappointed in themselves. And I'm speaking to each and every one of you.
And I'll call the last batch of names. Lynn Turner. Is it Camille Stroger? Slaughter? I'm sorry. Strotter. Forgive me. Harold Mayberry. Joe Trapp. Jeffrey Taylor. Adria Angelo. I'm sorry. Linda Todd. Cheyenne Reeves. Gary Serbu. Timothy Quick, Ethel McDaniel, Leoline Wright, I said that correctly, and that was your last name.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lynn Turner, and I'm a contractor as well with Turner Group Construction. And I'm going to mirror what Kenny just said. I'm not sure either if who visited that site, but I had an opportunity to visit it the other day. And it is beautiful. It's beautiful. And for Pulte Homes to come in and do that for $150,000 and they haven't gotten paid yet, that's what I've been told, is amazing. They have a studio in there that's acoustically designed. That's quite a bit of money. They have a professional kitchen in there. They have a Sub-Zero. The Sub-Zero would cost retail about $12,000. That kitchen is about $75,000. Retail, if they were to do that. They completely gutted this place and rebuilt it. The plumbing and the ventilation that goes in there is incredible. So for us, for Turner Group to do that, it would probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of $350,000 for us to do that project. The stucco that they have on there is acrylic that doesn't crack. The structural awning that they put on the building had to be structurally designed. That's additional cost. They have the garden out there. The kids can learn how to grow the plants. And what I saw was the onions and the greens out there, all healthy. I mean, these kids really take pride in what they're doing. So the handicap bathrooms, that's a huge cost. The acoustically designed studio with that music software is incredible. And so it's much, much more on there. I didn't understand, maybe I can get another minute from somebody. I didn't understand what needed to be reviewed, but it's kind of clear.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, your name? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, I mean, it's much, much more there, and the community needs it, and they're thriving from it, and we see that. When the city administrator said that something needed to be reviewed, I'm not sure what needs to be reviewed on that, but what I do know is that I think we're wasting a lot of time and money that we don't have in reviewing this, and I think we should just pay the contractors, and we should celebrate the individuals that put this together. Thank you.
Mr. President and distinguished members of the City Council, my name is Harold Mayberg. Papers have made a big deal over the fact that when they visited the center, 6 students were there, 3 students were there. We heard young people today talk about how the center has benefited them. If one young person's life has been developed through the center, it's well worth every nickel that has been spent on the center. People elected Councilmember Brooks to be creative, innovative, and to get the job done. It's clear sitting here today that something is wrong. In fact, something stinks. And the question is, what is it? I am convinced that Councilmember Brooks has put forth real effort because she cares about the people of her district and this city. People who live in glass houses should never throw stones. Councilmember Brooks, this community supports you. We encourage you to never be weary in well-doing, because they that be for you are far more than they that be against you.
I'm Joe Trapp. I represent the Metro Greater Oakland Democratic Club, and Judy Tonks and Gary Serbu have ceded their minutes to me.
Is Mr. Serbu present?
Yes, he is. Right there.
You have 4 minutes.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to recognize the hard work the council's put in the last few months. I mean, it's been very difficult, and I want to thank each and every one of you for just the hard work that all of you have done. It's nice to see Tony Cook here too. I remember her many years ago taking a lonely stand, but the correct stand on national education issues. However, I sent an email to each and every one of you this morning, and representing Club, we write to you regarding item 10 on the March 6th councilman meeting agenda. This item concerns the authorization of additional funding regarding the construction contract for the staffing of the Rainbow Teen Center. We agree with the city administrator's comment in our agenda report of February 23rd. This teen center is a premier facility in the area and benefits greatly from this public access, and we hope that it stays in operation for many years. We support this appropriation. The city must keep its obligations in requiring contractors to pay prevailing wages for city public works projects. This is the law, the ordinance, we have to do it. Nevertheless, we support the council authorizing and financing a complete and independent investigation of the alleged inappropriate and irregular actions in connection with the construction and staffing of this facility. Such an investigation, at minimum, should probe and explain the following information set forth in the February 23rd agenda report. The Office of Parks and Recreation was not directly involved in the planning of the teen center. City staff was not involved in determining the scope of the renovations of the teen center. After first-line city staff refused to authorize construction labor and materials by Pulte Homes because of suggested method violated state laws, the previous city administrator directed staff to prepare a report to council recommending a retroactive award of the construction contract. There's several other items here. I'm not going to make it through in a minute and a half. All these items are in the agenda report, and I think from what I've heard from the city administrator earlier, it sounds like she is taking a fairly constructive approach to this, and not really a vindictive one, which I would not support. But I want to talk a little bit about the contracting of the project. I've worked with Turner before. Mr. Turner has a very good reputation, so I respect his opinion. However, we need to recognize that Pulte Homes performed what is now $151,699 worth of construction work as a no-bid public works contract without public notice or conforming to the city's processes. Several Oakland-based small contractors could have certainly competitively bid for the work, and the work instead went to one of the nation's largest home builders with offices located throughout the United States, and that's on their website, by the way. I've worked in public works construction for 24 years. I used to work for the city. I worked in this building. I inspected this building after the earthquake in 1989. I worked with FEMA to get the funds to help renovate the building that we're now in. I worked on over $250 million worth of construction contracts. And a few years ago, we bid a project at the airport for $22 million. The original estimate was $38 million. The bid was $22 million. We had 10 bidders. Competitive bidding does result in lower prices, and that was a missed opportunity for both competitive bidding and getting opportunity for small local businesses to do the work, as well as labor, local labor. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Council President, Mr. Reed, council members. My name is Jeffrey Taylor, and I sit here and I listen. I know that there's protocols and procedures for everything. Not here to debate whether or not they were followed or whatever. But I just want to put one thing on your mind. It came to my mind when I heard about this. These are lyrics from a song by Yolanda Adams called "What About the Children?" And the chorus says, "What about the children? To ignore is so easy. So many innocent children would choose the wrong way. So what about the children? Remember when you were children. And if not for those who loved us and cared enough to show us, where would we be today?" That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
President, City Council members, Desiree Brooks, my name is Adria Angelo, and I'm here to commend Desiree Brooks for her efforts in working with the city and outside resources to bring resources to our city. It's shameful politics when the needs of our youth are overlooked because of the selfish politics of adults. And I like to say that again. I didn't know the whole story until I came here tonight. And when I listened at how Councilman Brooks contacted, followed protocol, she has documentation that she was doing what she's supposed to do. And then all this gets caught up in politics, and our kids are in a space where this facility may not be available. That really bothers me. I worked in Oakland for 25 years as an educator. I started as a teacher. My last position was a principal. And I worked with that particular center when it looked like that. We had kids that went there. The walls needed painting. The bathrooms were not appropriate. And to hear our youth say how proud they are to go there and what services are available, that's something that cities are begging for. Every city, I work in Contra Costa County now, city councilmen there would like to have a facility there for their youth like that. So once again, I commend Desiree Brooks. Someone owes Desiree Brooks an apology. She has a heart for all of the people, whether Black, Latino, Asian, or white. She's seen walking the streets of Oakland, talking to hurting people. She's not afraid of our youth. Many people, when they see our youth walking down the street with sagging pants, they cross the street. Desiree Brooks is not afraid. She's there fighting, trying to find a way to provide resources. So once again, shame on you for politics that's hurting our kids.
My name is Shawna Reese, President of the Council, Vice Mayor Desiree Brooks. Thank you. Thank you for taking a position and not foregoing the vision. The vision on behalf of us as older adults, more importantly as teens. City Administrator, I heard you tonight admit that there's a systemic problem. We commend you that you are ready and prepared to deal with systemic problems based on the information that was indeed shared by Vice Mayor Desiree Brooks. I also come from the perspective of wanting to be a teen today and to be able to go out to Rainbow Center because I don't cook, probably never will if I don't have to. I'm also not musically inclined, which is one of the reasons I sit in the back pew of the church so I don't offend anyone when I sing. But more importantly, I want to admonish you as council members that as the teens talked about, being involved in the teen center allows them to be better adults. It allows us to have an impact on healthcare, obesity, and what our children face. Not on the systemic problems tonight, but on the vision of Desiree Brooks. So I want to admonish you, city council members, to vote according to the yet systemic problem identified by the city administrator to approve those additional funds. Why don't we all visit the teen center? Have an opportunity to further their development and have an impact on this country. Michelle Obama would be proud that you took a position for our teens in America.
Good evening. I'm Timothy Quick, one of the instructors at DACA Urban Agriculture. I'd like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. It seems to me that this program is the function of government and philanthropy, and I urge you all to help us continue this work. We're developing these youth personally and professionally, and I find it to be amazing. We're breaking down the lines between us and really empowering these youth to become the adults that we need in this world right now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Ethel McDaniel, and I'm here for Desiree Brooks. One of the things I wanted to point out to you, I have lived in the Bay Area all my life. East Oakland was the better part of my life. And one of the things that I can clearly remember was the boys club and the girls club that we could go to when we got out of school. It was vital to the kids that they had that program there so that they had something to do after school. Today's kids don't have as much as we did back in my day to do things. And I just commend her for putting up a program to set it up like that for these kids. And to watch the kids come in here and testify to how it was a family-orientated place and how much they had learned, just gave my heart great pleasures. So I hope and pray that you guys look into the matters that you are trying to destroy and come up with a better solution in trying to save the place. Maybe even get some more. Thank you.
All right, all the names have been called. Councilmember Nadell, you're in the queue.
Good evening. Tonight I plan to vote for the funding allocation, but I wanted to raise some of the issues, some other issues as well. I certainly understand the temptation for expediency, having been working on a teen center in West Oakland for years, grappling with the latest crisis to get it moving forward. But there are good reasons for separating policy and implementation that are required by law for us to respect. There's no issue before us that the youth need these facilities. We are not discussing closing this facility. That is not on anyone's agenda. There has not been, as far as I could hear, any discussion of closing the facility. So let's try to focus on what concerns there really might be here. Vice Mayor Brooks asked us what she could have done differently, so here are my 3 suggestions. Council members must stay within their office budgets. Otherwise, something else is being shorted outside of a budget process. There is a democratic process for budgeting, and Ms. Brooks' office has been overspending their budget. Council members should not directly hire and supervise people doing city program work. That is interference. Council members should not pressure staff to do what they want them to do, when they want them to do it, because that too is interference, pushing their project ahead of others that are also waiting in the queue. I've received many emails and phone calls asking me to support an investigation. I don't believe that we should spend any money on an investigation, but I do support the city administrator's further efforts to improve systems to separate policymaking and implementation. Also, we need, as a council, to develop a process for consequences when council members go over their budgets. We have a process for other departments, and we need a process for council. For many years, some council members have gone over their budgets and some never have. That's a serious inequity. It's an inequity to our constituency. And those are my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Nagel. Madam City Administrator, there is no other members of the council in the queue.
I'd like to just offer a couple of additional comments, and as I had mentioned before, there are many different facts that compete to search for the truth in this issue. Vice Mayor Brooks got it right when she said that you can ask staff questions and you can't get good answers. That has been the issue all along that I have tried to advance here. It has been one issue that we have really struggled with, and ensuring that we bring quality work to the City Council on this matter has been very difficult. And so I don't know why that condition exists. I don't know what the issues are within this organization, but it clearly is something that is a systemic management issue for us to address. I can share that I did offer at the Rules Committee on January 12th or 19th, it's not clear to me which day it was, that there were 2 ways of handling this issue. There was one way of just bringing forward the Pulte item and deal with issues offline, which is clearly reflected in my January 5th email to Vice Mayor Brooks. Or I could bring this report, which addressed all the issues, and that's as Rules Committee directed me to do. There are some facts that I would just like to offer that reflect my perspective, that certainly reflect there are many set of facts out there. On the building code ADA issue, I was not referring to dispensers or paper towel issues. Rather, I was referring to attachment C, which is related to the building code and the rail, and shows a wheelchair trying to get over the door. That is an issue that was brought to my attention in January, as well as the picture that I included in the memo. I was not referring to dispensers that Public Works has caused to be in violation. On the issues of access to the keys, I think I should take a little bit of time to explain from my perspective what happened. On the morning, after sending the email of the significant issues to Vice Mayor Brooks on January 5th, on the morning of January 6th, I was going to be at the port with a couple of police officers, and later I was going to meet up with several staff at the Joaquin Miller Center for a retreat, particularly I'm referencing Chief Jordan. And I sent him an email that morning requesting that someone go out and accompany me to the Rainbow Teen Center and see if we could have access, because the issue of keys had been a long-standing issue. I had been told by the Director of Public Works that he did not have keys or access, and that he had access to the building to clog toilets. That was later found out that there was a complete custodian maintenance cycle in the month of maybe late December, early January. Fred, at one point in November, was told by the Director of Public Works that she did not have keys to the facility. He brought that to my attention. We began to explore that. And as I began to ask these questions, I was receiving the same answer. Chief Jordan arranged for Sergeant Riley to take me out to Rainbow Teen Center after a court meeting that we were attending together. Sergeant Riley and I went out there. We talked with Horace. I introduced Sergeant Riley as Sergeant Riley so that he understood who was in his presence. And I can share with you a disturbing email that I found in my efforts to read and understand what was happening. I can share with you that an email between Audrey and her assistant to the director revealed that when Audrey tried to push on this issue of access to the keys, Horace's response was, "You never asked me if I had keys." And so this is what I see as a management issue is unless you ask that particular question, the director was never told that that individual had keys because she never asked him. I went out there, Sergeant Riley and I went out there. We asked for access to the teen center. We asked if he had keys. We were told no. When I went to the Joaquin Miller Center, I debriefed with Chief Jordan on the issue. And Sergeant Riley, unfortunately, is on vacation this week, and so he's not able to provide his separate set of facts. I can also share with you on informing the Vice Mayor. I did not put an email until January 5th, the issues that had come to my attention. I did bring to her attention on November 30th in an email that the item had been scheduled at the Rules Committee for December 13th. My email states that I learned that this item was scheduled from the above date. I cannot sign off on a report yet because the issues are not settled in a manner that would enable sign-off. We probably should connect via phone before Rules Committee. I go off to say I'm off to a meeting. Apologies, but I need to get these issues corrected before I can sign off. Thank you for your patience. This was my effort to begin discussions via telephone, offline, on what I was hearing from staff and that I was hearing partial information, misinformation, and certainly a series of management issues that needed attention. There have been comments about hiring. Certainly the previous and former city administrators signed off on hiring documents that they should not have or they weren't paying attention. I can share with you that in the packet that I included in the attachments, attachment G, on August 24th, 24th day here, I sent an email to Vice Mayor Brooks noting that there were some irregularities in paperwork and that it appeared as if people were working before they were actually signed off on the paper and properly processed. And I did note that there was a risk to the city on doing that and we did need to pay them. That was followed up when I received a second batch of hiring forms by a September 30th email. I didn't know at that time that these positions may have been related to a center. Certainly I would have taken separate and different action, but I knew that the hiring forms did not conform to basic public hiring process. And so while I didn't have a complete set of information, I took the action that I could to manage risk for the city. On the issue of the CDBG, that issue, while there are emails that date back to October, once again, it goes to the issue of receiving partial information. I did not learn about the CDBG issue until January, mid-January, maybe late January. And that's what the emails reflect when Sabrina responds back to Susan Sanchez, who I understand is the council office's administrative support, that says that our office has put this on hold. I was not aware of the CDBG issue. Clearly, if I would have been made aware of it earlier, I would have added that to the list of items that needed attention in the early January memo. So I just need to clarify those facts because issues of facts are key here. I think that this demonstrates that there are multiple sets of facts out there and the full story on this issue is not completely known. I don't want to lose fact, though, of what our staff recommendation is. and I'll end my comments with that. We are recommending, again, the corrective action for the Pulte contract. We are recommending that funds be appropriated so that we can continue the center to operate. We are recommending that we begin a transition so that the center can be brought into order. And so with that, I'll end my comments.
Thank you, Madam City Administrator. Councilman Shea.
I sent out a little email newsletter, and if you'd like it, sign up. I sent out in that newsletter today my intention to support the continued functioning of this center and to essentially support the city administrator's recommendations. And I actually was asked, how can you do that? There are a lot of improprieties. And I don't think it's a problem. I don't think kids should have to suffer because adults made mistakes. I also think it's very important that Rebuilding Together Oakland, for which, just in full disclosure, I served on their advisory board for many years, and Pulte should be very clear that nobody is questioning them and that we owe a great debt of gratitude to them for their generosity. And that, again, this is an effort to clear that up, make it right, and move forward. It's also important to note that supporting this funding is part of a CDBG process that I have not seen any suggestions of the CDBG process that awarded funding to occur for running programs at Rainbow Rec Center was in any way improper. And so, and I don't think the report really pointed this out, we really are only being asked to allocate an additional $7,000 out of the general Parks and Rec fund because the CDBG funding had already been allocated for this purpose. But what we're being asked to do today is switch the recipient of the $48,000 in CDBG funds from the occur to Parks and Rec. Just to be clear about what is going to happen today, it is to allocate the funding for the remainder of this fiscal year. I do want the Director of Parks and Rec to be collecting information because it's going to be a more difficult decision when we come back in June to decide whether or not there is permanent ongoing funding to continue the program. It's noted that these are one-time funds. So I do want to highlight that I at least will need more information because it's important that you all know, just a few weeks ago we voted to shut down an existing rec center, the San Antonio Rec Center. Just a few weeks ago we voted to close rec centers across the city in many equally deserving communities. These rec centers are no longer opened on Mondays. So we are trying our best to serve the youth of this city with very restrained resources. So when you come back, we are going to have a harder decision in June to look at this within that context. And I do hope, you know, there have been issues raised about how many kids the center is serving. I did ask the city administrator staff and was told that anecdotally that the Rainbow Rec Center staff says that it is being utilized. I know that stands in contrast. It wasn't specific, there was no specific attendance data, and that does stand in contrast with the reports in the newspaper. I also want to highlight that more than a month ago, my office called the center. We were actually looking to pass out flyers. We have a bus transfer area where we have a lot of high school students congregating without productive activities. We were prepared to pass out flyers about DACA to advertise it. We called to make sure that there was still space available, and we never received a return phone call. So, you know, I read in the paper that the staff wants to do more outreach. Please return your phone calls, particularly from people that want to do free outreach for you. So again, when this comes back, I'd like to see more data about that. I also said in my newsletter that I sent out today that I am supportive of doing more investigation. But it is my understanding, based on the sunshine laws and based on the way that this item was titled, that we do not have the legal ability under sunshine to direct an audit or to allocate funding. That was not properly noticed. There's no notice in the title. And so it's my understanding that we are prohibited from directing such an action tonight legally under the Sunshine Law. So that is something that could be done another day. I do think that integrity in government matters. We can do better than this. And I again support the city administrator in continuing to diagnose the issues throughout the organization and improve our professionalism and our clear commitment to the highest ethical standards. Thank you.
Madam Vice Mayor, you're in the queue. Does Councilman McConaughey?
Mr. Delaplante is not in line, I see his...
No, it's the Vice Mayor. And since she has started off the conversation, I thought I'd go directly to the council members. And so you're next, Councilmember Carnahan, and then Councilmember Brown, and then I'll come back to you, Madam Vice Mayor, if that's okay.
I think it's important to talk about what are the issues here and what aren't. The issue is not that this facility isn't a great facility. It obviously is a really wonderfully equipped facility. The staff seem to be really great based on their resumes and even their appearances here. And nobody is criticizing that or saying that that isn't true. Neither is anybody disputing that the kids in that neighborhood are not desperately in need of programs and services and productive activities. The issues are about the process, the rules that were followed or not followed, not just by Vice Mayor Brooks, but by the whole city. And in government, there are many rules, and they often feel very burdensome and bureaucratic, and we all struggle with that. It makes it very slow to get things done that we all want to get done. But the rules are there for a reason. Public contracting rules for construction work that is done on city property is regulated by state law. There's lots of rules about it. And the reason it's there is so that politicians don't give contracts to their friends. The reason we have civil service laws about hiring people is so that politicians don't give jobs to their friends. I mean, for decades, things like that happened all over the United States, and that's why we have these kinds of rules. And so sometimes it is a hassle to follow all those rules, but the reason that those kinds of rules are there is because in a public entity where we're handling the public's money, there has to be total fairness and openness about how the money is allocated. And it should take place in a public process so that everybody gets to be heard. And I'm not reaching conclusions on any person or activity in particular. I'm just explaining why it is important that all of us follow the rules, that the ends don't always justify the means, and that here in the city of Oakland, as was referenced before, and you're all aware, that the money coming into the city has been shrinking for the past 3 years. And during that time, we have cut services in every rec center, every library, every senior center. We've laid off multiple people, employees. And so in that context, we have these very difficult discussions about where do we put the funds, the precious general fund monies, and that has to be done in public and as a group. And so as wonderful as that rec center is, if it means that a council member has to exceed their budget to hire all these people, that means it's not really in their budget. It means it's coming out of the general fund with no permission. And that's not fair when in other districts, people have been trying to get teen centers open. In West Oakland, where the kids are no less needy, Ms. Nadell has been trying to get the teen center open for at least 5 years, and she's still not there because she's, crossing the T's and dotting the I's and trying to do this all correctly. Other very fabulous facilities in the city have been built, and all according to Hoyle, following all the rules. The incredible East Oakland Sports Complex in District 7 took over 10 years, but it's there, and it was, make it 20. I mean, that's an extraordinary facility. But things can be accomplished, even when you follow the rules. Even Youth Uprising, same thing. I mean, that took 10, 12 years, but it is a fabulous facility. So the problem, so it is important that everybody on the council, as representatives of their district, have a fair shot at the resources. And as Ms. Schaff mentioned, a rec center in a poor neighborhood, it might is not as poor as that neighborhood, but it's in San Antonio, that program got shut down. So those poor kids lost their program, and now a program opens up somewhere else. So it's not like Robin Hood stealing from the rich and giving to the poor or something. Most of the kids in Oakland are poor, and it's a question of how do we allocate those monies and how do we do it fairly. So I think there clearly, just from the documentation in this report, were a lot of rules that weren't followed. And it is, if you want me to name one, I will name one. I will name 5. I will do that, but I don't want this to be personal. I want, this is about...
Hey, come on, you guys.
I'm sorry.
No, Tony. All right. I want us to be respectful of each other. Tony, you listen.
I want to be respectful. The lie is a lie.
Tony. Look. Can we get through this? Ms. Carnahan, you still have the floor.
Thank you. There is a lot of documentation in this report that appears to show a number of things. However, I do think it is worth the city administrator doing further investigation to find out exactly what happened, not just with respect to Councilmember Brooks, but with respect to all the city staff and how we can make our processes better. And this investigation may in fact support every assertion of Vice Mayor Brooks. It may be that she did absolutely nothing wrong. Maybe there are other documents out there and testimony that we know nothing about. I don't know, but it is worth looking into. What is clear, I will tell you, from the documentation in here, I will tell you some rules that were broken. And what concerns me is, among the things that concern me, is Vice Mayor Brooks says that none of the city staff that, said, don't do this, or this isn't the way to do this, or you should do it differently. If that's the truth, and it certainly may be, then that's even more reason for concern. Because city staff should know you cannot have construction done on city property without any contract whatsoever. The email in here between the Vice Mayor and Larry Gallegos, she is saying that in March of 2010, that Pulte is starting work and we need a grant agreement. So she told Pulte to start work, and there was no documentation whatsoever. That violates so many state laws that, I mean, and the thing is, the city attorney's office was the one office that was never consulted in any of this till after the renovation happened. And they could have actually structured this in a way so that it met all the rules. And anyway, so but among the things that you can't hire staff without going through civil service if they're working in a youth serving facility. I mean, that should be a civil service job. A council member cannot sign a $19,000 voucher on a CETA or redevelopment account. That council members don't have that control. That was for the sound equipment. You cannot exceed your council budget and just run up a tab on the general fund without getting council approval. And so, I mean, those are some of the issues. But I think that a fuller investigation would be good. In the meantime, I do support passing the resolution that would compensate Pulte for their work. It's pretty clear from reading this that they were doing this totally from the purest motivations. It looks like they were asking to be reimbursed for the materials, but donating the labor, it's not entirely clear. And clearly they provided a really valuable construction project for way less than it would have cost, even if it was competitively bid. And there would have been a way to do that, but it was not done properly. So I support paying Pulte Homes. I support using the CDBG money to pay for the staff at the center. And though that is not going to last forever. And I would support further investigation into the circumstances so that the city can set forth better management practices and for the whole city. This isn't just about one incident, right? or one particular council member. I do want to say I think there is something for Oakland to be proud about here, which is that we have a city administrator who has the courage to bring forth in public if information is not kosher, is not according to the rules. She is willing to come forth and bring it up and have a debate about it. It's not being swept under the rug. There also were city staff who did question what was going on, who knew that some things were not right, and who brought it up. So there are many wonderful city staff that work here. I think we have a terrific city administrator who wants to set a new culture in this organization, that everything is going to be according to the rules, above board. People should, city staff should feel free to raise issues if they're getting pressure from any council member, which is, something we've heard complaints about for years from many of us. But those are my thoughts, and I look forward to hearing other people's comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Kernahan. Councilmember Burton.
So I'm going to start with thanking the city administrator for putting out the report. Because when we got the report on should we approve this without bids, when you go back and read that January report, there's no information in it. So we were asked to agree to no bids, but we didn't know the backstory. So I think it is good that you put out the backstory. I think it's good that you suggested after you gave the story out that the center should continue. I think Desley Brooks made a very good presentation tonight. I think that I really understand from her presentation tonight her side of the story now and the emails that back that up. I have read every single email that has been put in front of me, and I think that that's important that all of us see that. I think city staff needs to be honest. And I think city staff needs to be able to say what the rules are and what we are supposed to do. And, it's out there now that some people are intimidating. Some people are friendly and get what they want. Some people make deals and get what they want. It's not just one person who maybe gets staff to do something. So I support that we're changing that culture. I know when I was president of the council, and there were several people's budget in the city council that was over budgeted at the time, I tried to get city staff to help me get everyone's budget under control. And what I got told by city staff is council is off limits. And they didn't want to get in the mix of what was going on at this council level. I disagreed with it at the time, but that was a culture that was here. So I think that Ms. Brooks and all of us need to follow the rules. I support that. We need to follow the rules. But I thought what was interesting tonight, as I heard and read these emails, it looked like Ms. Brooks asked for what the rules were. And then it looks like every time she put forward, I want to do this, and somebody knew she wanted to do that. So I think that it's important that we look at the whole and say, it's our responsibility to ask, it's our responsibility to follow the rules, but it's also staff's responsibility, I think you're saying that, it's also staff's responsibility to respond to any council member or anyone and say what the proper procedure is and not permit it to happen. So I think it's a collective problem. I think that reading all of this, and I think the city administrator has said she knows enough now what she has to do to change the systematic problem in staff. I think we know we have enough. So if we were going to do anything else, I'd want to know what were we going to gain and what we were going to do with that information after we got it. I think we have a lot of information. I think things need to be fixed at many levels, and I think we have that information to make that happen at this point.
Mr. Dillon.
I was going to go after you, but...
No, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I think that for the first time, we have somebody that wants to manage and actually be accountable, responsible. I support that 100%. But also, I'm not. A few weeks ago, I used the word hypocrite when the issue of naming after somebody something, and I did not support that, and I said I was not a hypocrite before, and I'm not going to start now. Same thing tonight. I think all of us council members at one time or another try to tell staff what to do and try to get things done and try to make projects done. And I don't even want to get into it because all of us have done that when it comes to parking, these and the others. So I'm not going to be one of those that sometimes we want to follow the rules, but sometimes we want to bend them because we want to get things done and want to make things happen. That doesn't mean that I think that it is rules that we have to follow. But when I look at, I'm with Ms. Bruner, when I look at all the string of emails, it's definitely many people that were involved in this issue from the beginning. So I'm not going to repeat everything. I think that we already wasted 2 or 3 hours. I think the city administrator is doing and has enough to know how the issue started and how the issue where we are now. Council members should not be running recreation centers or teen centers or anything. I agree with that. So now that we know that, let's go Parks and Rec to do their job and actually run it. That's what you are suggesting. I will not support allocating money to do another investigation because I think you have enough to, and I think you know enough to either take action with somehow people that don't do our job or they didn't do their job, either preventing a council member to tell them what to do, or just looking the other way, or maybe being comfortable that somebody else was doing it. or somebody's gonna do the job. I think it's, one of the things that I think I have to totally agree with Ms. Brooks is the fact that, yes, if somebody has a question how much we allocated for teen centers, actually $500 million we allocated out of redevelopment almost for every area. Ms. Nidel's district, my district, and still on the back because we have not been able to get some of those teen centers off the ground. So I think that it is correct that sometimes we get desperate and we get eager that things are not moving and we want to move the projects. And I think all of us have been guilty of that. But at some point, I think that it is that division. But Madam City Administrator, I want to be clear that I support the fact that you want to manage, you want to make sure that all of us are accountable, especially staff. And I think that at this point we have spent a lot of time on this, and I think that it is a teen center that is functioning, and we want to make sure that it will continue functioning the proper way. And that means that Parks and Recreation, the way that they run all of the other centers, will do that and move on. Because I think we have, as a couple of council members mentioned it, I think that in June we're still going to have the task of trying to balance the budget and trying to do what we believe is the best thing we can do. But I think that there's no question about it, that one of the biggest needs, and especially some of the flatlands, is the teen centers. That's the reason why Ms. Nidell is pushing to buy a building, but we're still not on the ground. That's the reason why we have allocated resources for the fruit bill, but we have not got it off the ground. And so one of the speakers mentioned, Mr. Chair, and you and I talk about this, and we talk about this in closed session. It's 24 homicides so far this year. I can tell you that the way we're going is going to be worse than 2011. And 2011 was the worst of the last 5 years. So unless we do something, and unless we actually really start being realistic about the situation that we're facing, I think that we're going to be probably a lot very worse in 2012 to 2011. So I will not support additional allocation of resources to do more investigation, but I will support to the city administrator to start a transition. I think Ms. Brooks already started it, did it, good, bad, or different. Now let's move on, and I think that get it over with. So that's my
Madam Vice Mayor, I was going to wait till you No, I will wait till you
So I want to clear up a couple of things that came up. One of the council members didn't put their name on this, but asked what my staff budget had been for the past couple of years. And in 09-10, I returned $186,000 to the general fund. I returned $186,000 to the general fund. Historically, my office has returned money to the general fund at the end of each year. I don't overspend my budget historically, but in 2011, when I started the teen center, I overspent by $25,000. 25, but I returned 186. Yeah, it's on the sheet. Yeah. And then they put the projected amount if the staff were to stay on my budget, that I would go over my budget $156,000. But they aren't staying on my budget. And so it's not a real number. And so historically, I've returned money. So Ms. Nadell, Ms. Kernahan, I don't historically overspend my budget. And Ms. Kernahan, you made the statement that a council member can't overspend their budget without the approval of the council. That happens every single year. And I'm not one of those people. Every single year. Not one of those people. So, as usual, she misstated what actually happens. I'm not one of those people typically. And more than likely what will happen when the teen center comes off of my budget, I'll be under budget yet again. I never wanted to run a teen center. Never wanted to run a teen center. But when the building was finished and it sat there for 7 months, fully furnished, fully equipped, unused, in an area that kids desperately needed a place to go. And I couldn't find anybody to run the facility. And we didn't have money in the budget because we cut probably 50-something million that year. And I wasn't trying to come to the council to ask them to run a teen center. And I knew that I had salary savings. I really, because I don't know personnel rules, really didn't think that I was doing anything wrong by asking personnel and Parks and Rec. What's the process? Can I do this? And so they told me, yeah, you can do it. And then this year, it's like, oh no, you broke the rules. What? And so I applaud Parks and Recs running the program that they're supposed to run. It's funny because everybody talks about, having to pick up these new expenses. If you look at the document, the resolution and the ordinance that we passed to purchase this place, it anticipated that we would have costs for public works. It anticipated that Parks and Recs would run this facility. So we're only doing what should have been done from the start. But in the absence of leadership, I stepped in. I stepped in. And so I did what was necessary for the kids in my district. In the email that you talk about, City Administrator, in November of 2011, where you say that you aren't able to sign off, you don't raise any specific issues. I don't know what the issues are until January 5th, when you, it's still in a very general way, but more specific than you have been, raise the issues. So again, I'm thinking the only outstanding issue is Pulte, because nobody has ever said anything to the contrary. And so you saying that I'm unable to sign off a report doesn't provide me any more information than I have in April about what the issues are. And the one that I have consistently raised with every single administrator has been the payment of Pulte. So in the absence of you telling me something, and in the face of staff saying, in response to my questions, this is how you do stuff, I have no other information. So that email didn't mean anything. You talking about working offline after you gave me your word. And I really do believe that when people give you your word, that's all you have. Right. So I wrote you about you giving me your word, and that you didn't honor your word. I wrote to you about that. Because it was problematic when I leave the country after you gave me your word. You put it on the Deep Six list. You didn't leave it together for the date that it was supposed to happen. And so I've been pushing to get this done. And I'm not going to belabor the issues much longer. I want to thank everybody who's come out tonight and for listening, and hope that you will, for yourself, look at the record, because it's clear. I'm thankful that the center is going to move forward, because as you've heard, it's doing things in the lives of the children that go there. It's needed in the community. And no, I didn't try to pressure. There is nothing in the record that says I pressured anybody. Most of the communication was done by emails. How much pressure do you get when you get an email? And so I resent the notion that people would attach words like that carelessly, because there's nothing that states that. I move the motion, the staff recommendation to continue the funding for the Teen Center, to pay Pulte the money that they rightfully deserve. And I hope that we can begin to take the foolishness that we engage in, and put the city and the residents of this city first.
I'll second it.
All right, I was gonna say something, but it's been a long night. It's been
Mr.
moved by
President?
Councilmember Shea.
Mr. President, I would like to introduce a substitute motion. The motion is to have a bifurcated vote on the following two actions. First, to adopt the resolution, but changing the total allocation for staffing to $55,000 as recommended in the supplemental report. And this would require us, and also just to clarify that that is the allocation, to switch the order of the last two resolved paragraphs to make clear that the $48,000 of CDBG funds must be assigned to Parks and Recreation prior to the allocation of the $55,000 to the OPRCA Recreation Center Operations Fund 1550. And again, this would continue the staffing and the operation of the center for the remainder of fiscal 11-12 as recommended. And then accordingly also the 11th whereas paragraph would need to be amended to reflect the staffing configuration recommended in the staff supplemental report. So that would be the first action of the bifurcated vote. The second action, and again, as I
Can we
said,
stop a minute?
Yes.
We have no idea what you're referring to, what you're proposing. So if you would tell us which resolution you're looking at, what paragraphs you're changing.
there's only one resolution in front of us.
Okay, so through the chair,
Yes.
because I'm trying to follow why it's different from what Mr. Brooks proposed.
I don't think
So-
this first part really is
So
different.
then usually if
Except-
it's someone's district, we let them be the group. So why are we doing this?
Would you like me to finish making the motion? And then we could, then I'm sure people are allowed to speak to it. So again, the first part of the motion is to adopt the resolution, but the resolution that was in our packet did not actually, the resolution itself was not amended to reflect staff's staffing configuration that was recommended in the supplemental report. So we simply conform that. But again, just to make clear, it would fully pay Pulte. It would continue the operation of the teen center, keep it open, keep the program functioning. The second part of the motion, the second action, and this would be a separate vote. So if you can vote for the first one and vote against the second one, as I suspect some people may. The second part of the motion, so again, while we cannot tonight properly direct an audit, one thing that we can do is schedule a report with possible action directly to the full council no later than its meeting of July 3rd, 2012, containing the full results of the city administrator's continued investigation of these matters within her existing contracting and budgetary authority, including all non-confidential evidence gathered, as well as her management recommendations for ensuring better compliance throughout the organization with all laws and policies going forward. That is my motion.
I'll second it.
President?
Yes, Madam City Attorney.
I should advise that with respect to Councilmember Schaaf's motion, the first part, in terms of the amendments to the resolution before you, you can all vote on. The second portion, which involves the continued investigation and report back to council, Councilmember Brooks should recuse herself. She would have a potential financial conflict with that activity. I'm at a loss as to how we could schedule an item that isn't even agenda. This actually would not go to a specific date. It asks for the item to come back, and it would merely recommend that the city administrator continue with an existing investigation. I don't understand the conflict of interest that I would have. This isn't directed at me. This is a general, as the motion was stated, this is a general investigation into the policies and procedures. I see no reason to recuse myself.
There actually are facts, there are potential facts in the investigation that's already been done that are contained in the report that could illustrate or demonstrate that there's been violation of charter provisions and so forth, where there could be penalties or financial implications for you. That would be a conflict of interest. That's a conflict of interest under the Political Reform Act.
Madam City Administrator, well, before I go to you, Councilmember Bruner, then I'll come back to you.
So I heard something different from Ms. Schaaf, so I would like to hear the city clerk read the second half, because I heard, the first one about, let me start with this. The staffing, with what what's in the staff briefing. The staffing configuration, is that something that would be, is that a problem in, Ms. Brooks, I'd like you to address the issue. Because I guess there's you didn't say what the staffing configuration is, so maybe I'd like to be clear so we know exactly what that staffing configuration is that you're proposing.
How is this different from the original staffing configuration that we talked about, that would make sure that all the staff that was there?
Madam City Administrator.